About 24 hours ago at this point, Mark Rubin, executive producer at Ubisoft for XDefiant, gave a real brief update on XDefiant's status, stating, "We're doing some private tests to verify all the work that we did in the last few months. So far, things are going well and we're eager to go live." So not really anything that can be taken apart for any clues or anything, but a smaller update no less. But with that said, based on that update, we'll likely start to see things picking up steam here more and more over the coming weeks. So as we gear up for that, I want to take a little bit of time and talk about everything we know so far about XDefiant. So as we go along, drop your thoughts, drop a like, subscribe for more XDefiant coverage, and make sure to check out the streams linked down below. Might even be live as of the time of this video going live. Love to see you out there. Finally, this video is brought to you in part by DraftKings, but more on that in a bit. For now, let's talk about everything we know about XDefiant so far. First and foremost, if you're new here, well, what is XDefiant? It's a free-to-play FPS arcade shooter developed by Ubisoft San Francisco with plenty of talent from the classic era of, like, Call of Duty games. Headed up by Mark Rubin, previously executive producer at Infinity Ward, working on games like COD 4, Modern Warfare 2, Modern Warfare 3, and his last work with the Call of Duty franchise was Ghosts. Now, whenever released, it will be available for the current generation of platforms, PC, PlayStation 5, and Xbox Series X and S, with crossplay available, so it doesn't matter what console you play on or what console your friends play on, you can all play together, and it'll have 120 Hz support on consoles as previously stated. Last generation support is something that is mentioned to be coming post-launch, so for those that are still playing on PS4 and Xbox One, it is possible we do see this at some point here over the couple of months after the launch of the game, but this is done right now on current generations, so it doesn't hinder any of the development that we see in regards to the base game, which I personally think is a nice approach. It of course does suck for those that don't have any of those consoles yet, but 3 years and a few months and change into the life cycle of the current generation of consoles, it is something where developers are starting to go away from that last generation support so that they can focus on maximizing performance, utilizing the hardware of the current generation and not being limited by the last. So in that sense, XDefiant shouldn't be held back by developmental choices made for last gen players now that the numbers will only dwindle from here going into the future. But in the future, you'll see a version of the game built for last generation once the base and optimized versions of the game fully utilizing the current generation of tech. Once that's finalized, you'll see something built out for last gen, including players, but not hindering the development going into the future. Now, the biggest question to date has been, well, when's the release date of the game? Because that's been something that for almost the past year now, we've been on this sort of when's it going to release train, because it seems like through playtests, through betas, that the game was ready for launch, and it seemed like they were going to have that end of summer window. So right now we are quite a few months past when we initially thought the game would be launched. But that's the thing, it's still up in the air. There is no definitive date just yet. Nothing has been given yet, but based on earnings calls with Ubisoft and their sort of shareholder meetings, it looks like the end of March is the very latest that we could see this launch. So my educated guess would be sometime late February to early March that we see this, but don't take that as gospel. It's just a guesstimation based off of prior mentioned timetables for finalizing the dev process. They need to make sure that everything is good. Once it is all ready to ship out, we're going to have a little bit of marketing build up here so that it's not just a hot drop where it's like one day you don't hear anything about it, the next day you're playing it. There's going to be some sort of build up period here to that. So with that all in mind, given that it's the end of January right now, if they were to say finalize it in the next week or so, it's going to take a few weeks to get to that launch if you're asking me. But anyways, once it does launch, how will you be able to access the game? Well, again, it'll be free to play, so all you have to do is download it and play it on your platform of choice. The launch content here is already listed, and it's something that comes along with a decent bit. We have 14 maps, 10 of which are arena maps, which is basically like your 6v6 traditional gameplay style that you're used to in the multiplayer format for like Call of Duty or any other arcade shooter. And then you have 4 progression-based maps, which means like you're going to end up playing like an escort mode on it, where it's a larger map, but it's segmented into checkpoints almost. So the 10 maps for the arena maps are called Arena, Attica Heights, Dumbo, Echelon, Emporium, Liberty, Mayday, Noodleplex, Pueblito, and Showtime. The 4 progression maps are going to be Meltdown, Midway, Times Square, and Zoo. Through this, you're going to be able to play with the 5 factions of the Cleaners from The Division, Libertad from Far Cry, Echelon from Splinter Cell, Phantoms from Ghost Recon, and DedSec from Watch Dogs. DedSec is actually going to be one that has an XP-related challenge to unlocking it once the game launches, if you did not previously unlock it in the open beta state. That was something that if you played the open beta, you probably got enough XP throughout that it will then credit it to your account. So if you're playing on the same account come launch day, you'll have DedSec unlocked. You also have 5 modes to play with at base, where it's 3 arena based and 2 progression based. Again, the arena being the 6v6 sort of just standard gameplay you're used to, that being domination, occupy, which is essentially hardpoint, and then hot shot, which is kind of like kill confirmed mixed with like a king of the hill. The 2 progression based modes are zone control and escort. Beyond that, you'll have 24 weapons available at launch with 44 attachments across the board for all of those, and multiple camos to unlock and progress through. Now, right now, we don't know a whole ton about the sort of camo progression system and the mastery camos available, but we did see in the open betas bronze, silver, and gold, all seen throughout the weapon leveling process. So it seems like if there are challenges associated with it, those camos will not be part of that, but those are just your sort of, hey, congrats on ranking your weapon up to X level. And probably one of the biggest things here that was a key seller for XDefiant way back when it first started to gain traction was the matchmaking system that will be in place. It was mentioned that we, from the beginning, would not see any skill-based matchmaking, and that was sort of the definitive no the entire time. But recently it was mentioned that we'd end up seeing skill-based matchmaking in a welcome playlist for players under level 25. Now, to me, this is kind of a non-issue because this is essentially boot camps from the classic Call of Duty games. It is something that you only have this available in excess of level 25, and you have to opt into it. So if you're a brand new player, it allows you to ease into the gameplay experience a little bit with players that may also be new. But if you are somebody that ends up, say, reverse boosting or having a dummy account, you're only going to end up having the ability to do that until level 25, and then you need another account at that. So skill-based matchmaking will still not be a thing within this unless you opt into it. Beyond that, nothing of the sort unless you're playing ranked. Also, in regards to matchmaking, input-based matchmaking is going to be something here seemingly at launch as well. So if you play on controller, you'll play against other controller players predominantly. If you play on mouse and keys, you'll predominantly play against other mouse and key players. Before we move on, today's video is brought to you in part by DraftKings. This weekend, 4 teams are left and only 2 are making it to Vegas. With the stakes being bigger, I've partnered with DraftKings, an official partner of the NFL, to get you in on the action if you're interested. Right now, if you're a new customer, you can bet just $5 and get $200 in bonus bets instantly with code ESPRESSO for your shot at the crown. That $200 in bets can go towards anything, including multiple bets for a chance of sweeter payout. And if you're already a user, no worries at all, because you can use that to get a no sweat bet, bonus bet back if your same game parlay doesn't hit. And if sports betting isn't available in your state, you can still join in on DraftKings Daily Fantasy and have the chance to win cash prizes. So get in on the action this weekend and download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. And remember, code ESPRESSO can get you $200 in bonus bets instantly with just any $5 wager. So thanks to DraftKings for sponsoring this video, and make sure to check it out if you're at all interested. Okay, so next we know what is coming at launch, but what about some post-launch support? What about whenever the game launches? What does the future hold for XDefiant? Well, actually, year 1 of content was already laid out, where they detailed for the first 12 months, we'll see 4 seasons, so 3 months each. With that, you'll also see 3 new weapons, 1 new faction, 3 new maps, and a new battle pass coming along with each of those. So a lot throughout the months following. It is a live service game here, so we will be seeing content throughout, and again, given for free. One of the big things that I'm personally excited for, and a lot of people seem to be as well, is the inclusion of a prestige system, where when previously asked if there will be prestiges like old CODs, Mark Rubin said, we're designing the system as we speak, which was a couple of weeks ago. We want to have the classic prestige system, but we also recognize that while games like COD, you get a new set of prestiges every year, a la a new game, we also are designing a game lasting for years, so we're looking at possibly yearly prestiges, which I think is a good compromise here on how we see things happen. Though the one thing that I would like to see added on top of that is that while you may have those refreshes here each year, I'd still love for there to be an overall sort of career rank that never resets. So essentially, if somebody grinds it out, they play it for years, they could be level 10,000 or something like that. Some crazy amount that just truly depicts, okay, this guy's an absolute grinder. I think that that would be a nice little way to have both systems for those that don't want to see anything refreshed, but also to still get that sense of accomplishment even after you've completed it and you've been stuck on that max prestige for a long while. Another thing recently mentioned was that of the sort of fate of custom keybinds. When asked, will there be custom keybinds on controller, Mark Rubin said, unfortunately, not right now out of the gate. This is something we'll push for when it makes sense in the production standpoint. So this has been pretty well documented to be the case, and it seems to be reiterated a couple of times since, but custom keybinds for those that do want to change things on controller, you'll have the option here, but just not at launch. Kill cams also was recently mentioned, where kill cams are being worked on, but they've got some basics already working, but still need more work. So it'll be ready sometime after launch, and also leading into it, Mark Rubin also mentioned that he wants to do a Clan Wars type of thing, something that we last saw within Call of Duty Ghosts, which would be actually really cool, I think, to see reintroduced here in 2024, even if it's not in the Call of Duty sort of franchise. Those were always so fun to compete in. Eventually, a competitive side is going to be introduced here, with esports being something that's on the sort of long-term goals for XDefiant and what they want to accomplish, so that'll be cool. And of course, with how much competition we saw within the open betas and everything, how many skilled players there already are, it is no surprise that that could be something that is just adapted perfectly. There also was mentioned previously that there will be no loot boxes coming here, which is definitely nice. It seems like the sort of era of loot boxes is finally done and over with, which is, I think, awesome. I think that the gambling aspect of games was always just a bad idea to begin with. Mark Rubin, of course, did mention there is going to be microtransactions in a shop. It's a free-to-play game. That is how they're going to end up keeping the business up, how they're going to end up being able to keep the lights on at the studio, pay the developers and everything for the continued support of the game. But Mark Rubin also mentioned that they're looking at ways to have like sort of events to create rare items, but at no cost for the players. It's just one of those things that you had to be there essentially to earn it. So that's something that will be coming in the future as well. And then possible introductions in the future include reactive streak-based camos, where it was previously mentioned we don't want to just put ourselves in the typical COD kill streaks in the game, but we are thinking outside the box for ways to reward and celebrate streaks. I thought reactive camos would be pretty cool. So essentially, if you think back to like how Black Ops 4 did it, where you had the reactive mastery camos essentially, where you had different stages of, say, dark matter or diamond camo. That could be something that's implemented here within XDefiant. Feeder mode was also something that has been previously mentioned and has been targeted for something after launch, but nothing confirmed. I think that would be opening up a lot of doors for content creation and the creative aspect of XDefiant, but we'll see if that actually ever happens. And then fully customizable HUDs is something that is also going to be aimed at for the future post-launch of XDefiant. And all in all, that is a lot of the big and top level things here. There have been smaller things that have been mentioned in the past, but not really that have like a stranglehold on, I think, things you need to know. So that is where we're going to wrap it up. That is everything you need to know about XDefiant so far as of the end of January here in 2024. Fingers crossed we got the launch coming up, or at the very least, a reveal of some kind of that launch date here and when we can expect to see more. But for right now, that's what you need to know. So drop your thoughts down below, drop a like if you enjoyed the video, and make sure you subscribe for more XDefiant content. And until next time, I'll see you in the next one. Take care and peace.